Good morning, folks. My name is Hitzemann, County Court Judge here in Hernando County. You folks are here for your first appearance. The purpose of the first appearance is so that you may be informed of the charges against you. We'll determine if there's probable cause for those charges, and then we'll set your conditions of pretrial release, that is your bail or your bond. In most cases, you've got a bond set already pursuant to the bond schedule here in the 5th Judicial Circuit, or the warrant which led to your arrest. I'll determine if that bond should be raised or lowered or left the same, or whether there'll be additional conditions of pretrial release placed upon you. We'll let you know when your next court date will be. If you'd like to have the services of the public defender, I'll gladly appoint the PD to represent you this morning. You do have a right to have contact with folks on the outside, family, friends, counsel. If you haven't had a chance to make that call, please let me know. We'll make sure that that happens. Finally, and most importantly, you're advised that you do have an absolute right to remain silent with regard to the facts which surround your arrest. I encourage you to do that. These proceedings are recorded. In addition, there is an assistant state attorney in the courtroom with me. If you say something that tends to incriminate you, they will use it against you in the prosecution down the road. I now need each and every one of you there at the jail to please raise your right hands and be sworn. You all solemnly swear affirm, tell truth, whole truth, none but the truth. Outstanding. When I call your name, please step forward to the podium. Tracy Dokapol. Morning, Tracy. What's your date of birth?
1975.
Tracy, I got two things today. First thing is a warrant that I signed. I found probable cause for a commercial burglary. Then there's also an order of recommitment. What that means is that Judge Toner determined that he thinks that you may have committed new crimes while out on bond, and he has revoked your pretrial release in some pending cases that you have. Looks like 3 of them. So as to the burglary charge, you want to represent yourself, you want to hire a private counsel, would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Appoint a public defender.
Appoint the PD. The bond on that warrant is $5,000. We're not going to change that today. And I am going to have that one come back. It looks like they told you May 15th. It's actually going to be April 23rd. And the public defender will come see you prior to the court date. Then on the recommitment order, what has happened there is that your bond in case numbers 17 CF 1874, 1875, and 1876, on all 3 of those cases, the bond has been set at no bond now by Judge Toner. So obviously you're not getting out today. You're going to be back in court on those also on the 23rd of April. So all your cases coming back on April 23rd. And like I said, the PD will come see you before you go to court again, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. William Bowling. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
8/27/96.
Sir, you're here on a warrant signed by Judge Toner. He found probable cause for a violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire a private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender, please.
I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. The bond on the warrant is no bond. I can't change that. We have to change your date, however, as well. To the 23rd of April, so you'll be back in court on the 23rd, and the PD will come see you before then, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Raymond Bristle. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
10/14/79.
Sir, you're here on a violation of probation warrant that I signed, so I found probable cause from the BOP. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire a private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender.
I want to appoint the PD. Bond on the warrant is no bond. I'm not changing that. I'll have you back in court. I'm not sure what they told you, but the right date is the 2nd of May. So you'll be back in court in a couple of weeks. Public defender is going to come see you before then, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Brodnick. Morning, Sean. What's your date of birth?
Morning. 4/12/76.
Sean, the charge is criminal mischief. There's probable cause for that charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender, please.
I'll appoint the PD. State, what can you tell me?
Guilty for driving while license suspended, 2 counts, let's say 2001, guilty for driving while license suspended in 2000, guilty to possession of marijuana in 1999, and then other misdemeanors in the 90s.
Okay. And Sean, I got an address for you in Land O'Lakes. Is that where you live?
Correct. State Road 54, Lot 28.
How long have you been there?
About a month.
Okay. Do you have a job these days?
Yes, I have a full-time job.
What do you do?
I work at McGuire's Beautiful Outdoors. I'm a fertilization technician.
Okay. All right. I'm going to set your bond at $500. Condition of the bond is that you'll have no contact with, looks like Stephanie Wysong.
Yes, sir.
No contact means no contact of any kind. You don't call, you don't write, you don't email, you don't text message, you don't contact her through any social media. Don't go where she lives, don't go where she works, don't have any contact of any kind. Any way that you might imagine contacting her, I forbid you to do that. If you have contact and we find out about it, your bond will be revoked and you'll be held in jail without bond until the charges are resolved. It means no contact even if she wants to contact. So if you answer your phone and hear her voice, you should hang up. If you're out and about and see her, you should turn around and run the other way. You need to understand that she cannot drop the charges against you. That's not a decision she'll be allowed to make. She might go to the state attorney's office and ask them to drop the charges. Might tell them that she's not interested in pursuing this matter. But that decision belongs solely to the assistant state attorney handling your case. So unless that person or the judge on your case tells you the charges are dropped, you should assume they're not dropped and you should not have contact. I'll have you back in court on the 9th of May. Make sure that you contact the public defender's office as soon as you get out, all right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Garrett. Morning, Mr. Garrett. What's your date of birth?
12/16/1990.
Mr. Garrett, you're here on a warrant signed by Judge Toner. He found probable cause for a violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. Bond on the warrant, of course, is no bond. I can't change that. I'm going to change your date to the 23rd of April. So you'll be back in court on the 23rd. PD will come see you before that, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Lynch. Morning, Mr. Lynch. What's your date of birth?
1/4/64.
Mr. Lynch, you are here on a warrant that I signed. I found probable cause for violation of probation. As to that charge, you wish to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
I'll represent myself.
All right. Bond on the warrant is no bond. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to have you back. I'll have you back in court in front of me on the 2nd of May. I think they told you the 9th. The right date is the 2nd. We'll see what we can do from there, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Joseph McKenzie. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
27/91.
Joseph, this morning a charge is grand theft auto. There's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Can you repeat that one more time?
You want the public defender?
No, what was the charge? I'm sorry.
Grand theft auto.
Grand Theft Auto?
Would you like the public defender?
Yes, sir.
There you go. I'll appoint the public defender. State what you tell me.
Guilty for driving while license suspended in 2017, guilty for petty theft in 2016, guilty for burglary restructure in 2015, guilty for resisting an officer with violence, attempted burglary dwelling in 2009. There was other juvenile history, including more burglaries, and those are the early 2000s, and then, Your Honor, I believe
He's got some open cases.
you're right, it needs to just be something the same.
Right. Okay. Joe, what I'm going to do is leave the bond per the schedule, which is the 2,000, and put these on for the 7th of May. Public defender is going to come see if you can't get out, okay? Thank you. Richard Patmore. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
1/28/73.
Richard, you're here on a warrant signed by Judge Merritt. He found probable cause for violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You can hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
PD.
I'll appoint the public defender. Bond on the warrant, of course, is no bond. I'll have you back in front of Judge Merritt on the 15th of May. Public defender will come see you before then, okay?
Is there any way we can get that moved up? I've already been incarcerated 3 weeks.
Okay, well, unfortunately, that's the date for Judge Merritt. Thank you. Michael Shipton. Morning, Mr. Shipton. What's your date of birth?
9/21/90.
Mr. Shipton, you are here on a warrant that Judge Rupi signed. She found probable cause for violation of probation. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD. Bond on the warrant, of course, is no bond. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to have you back on the 2nd of May. Looks like they told you the 9th, but I'll have you back on the 2nd. Public defender will come see you before then, and we'll see where we go from there, all right?
Your Honor, I think he has a pending case, separate May 17th.
He with me?
Wait,
Oh, he does. Let's do this. Let's move that case, whatever that is, to the 2nd. So we'll get the misdemeanors together. So, Mr. Shipton, both of your misdemeanors will come back in front of me on the 2nd of May. Your felony cases, I can't do anything about those, but the misdemeanors, we'll see if we can take care of those on the 2nd, all right?
All right.
All right. Peter Tozy. Morning, Peter. What's your date of birth?
3/10/1949.
Peter, I got 3 charges this morning. I've got an armed burglary of a dwelling, dealing in stolen property, and defrauding a pawnbroker. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you're going to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
PD, sir.
I'll appoint the public defender. State what you tell me.
Your Honor, he has no Florida history. He did have some out-of-state history in New York, including burglary and dealing with stolen property, but that's from the 1970s.
And nothing since then.
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Peter, I've got an address for you on Barclay in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long you been there?
11 years, sir.
And you have a job these days?
What I do, I'm a handyman.
Okay. On the dealing and defrauding, I'm going to set the bonds on those at $1,000 each. Those are coming back on the 15th of May. On the armed burglary, I'll set the bond at $10,000. So your total all the way around is $12,000. That's also coming back on the 15th of May. Make sure if you get out that you contact the public defender's office right away, okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Lloyd Webster. Want to start with your date of birth?
10/20/1982.
Webster, this is a sex offender registration violation. It's a charge. There's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You want to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the public defender. State, what can you tell?
Your Honor, I think he has no Florida history, but he has history from Texas, including the underlying offense. And then there's possession of cannabis, possession of controlled substance, and it looks like another failure to register. Those were in 2014, 2015, 2016. Let me ask for GPS.
Right.
Okay, sure, Mark.
Lloyd, the address you listed is Ceylon Drive in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
That's where, yes, sir, that's where I was staying.
Do you have a job these days?
I just got a job yesterday.
What were you doing?
I was doing handyman service for Jason Rory.
Okay. I'm going to leave the bond for the schedule, which is the $5,000. Condition of the bond is that if you're able to bond out, you'll be subject to GPS monitoring at your expense. We're going to have you back in court on the 15th of May. If you get out, you should contact the PD right away. If you can't get out, they're going to come see you at the jail, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Nico Diaz. Morning, sir. What's your date of birth?
7/1/88.
Nico, first thing I have for you is a warrant from signed by Judge Toner. Apparently, he failed to appear in his court on a charge of dealing in stolen property. And then I have a new charge of resisting without violence. There's probable cause on both counts. As to those charges, you're going to represent yourself, going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Defender.
I'll appoint the PD state.
Your Honor, he's got, well, I guess we asked for an RCO on the new charge. As far as criminal history goes, he has a guilty for resisting without violence and battery and criminal initiative, carrying concealed weapon, disorderly conduct. In 2014, guilty for driving license suspended. 2014, guilty for false verification of ownership to pawn broker in 2012. Guilty for resisting officer without violence and driving license suspended in 2012. And guilty for burglary and conveyance, battery, 2009. And guilty for resisting an officer in 2004. That was juvenile.
I'm not going to grant you RCO just because I've never had anybody actually run the logic for me. If someone commits a new charge while they have a pending FTA, I don't know if they're technically on pretrial release at that moment. I would love to see case law along that line if we could do it sometime, but nobody ever has. So
I'm just making a
Oh, absolutely. And maybe Judge Torn will do it in New York Minute, but I can't get my head around it without somebody showing me a case.
Okay.
All right. So, Nico, I got an address for you on Montego Street in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
All right. And do you have a job these days?
Yes, sir.
What do you do?
Do footage, build houses for downright construction.
Okay. On the FTA warrant by Judge Toner, the bond on that is $10,000. I can't change that. I'm going to leave the resisting bond at the $1,000. So your total all the way around is $11,000. The FTA case is coming back April 23rd, and the resisting case is coming back May 9th. If you get out, you must contact the public defender right away. If you can't get out, they're going to come see you at the jail. All right?
So I am able to bond out, sir, if I heard right. Or?
Yep, $11,000 is the total.
All right.
All right? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, what was the, what were the dates on those?
4/23 and 5/9. Thanks, folks.